Hello and welcome to today's live at lunch session dedicated to the 2015 Remedy Programme. I am your host for today, Andrew Jones, and I am the Engagement Manager for the Civil Service Pension Scheme. With me today to deliver today's session are three very knowledgeable and wonderful colleagues, Catherine Murray, Ian Corner and Stella Humphreys. Just before we fully start today's session, I just want to run over a few housekeeping items first. One of the main bits of today's session will be a question and answer session. And if you want to start asking your questions, if you look on your screen just now, there is a little plus item advising on how you can submit the questions that you would like answering. Also, through today's session, we'll have a total of 3 polling questions, which we would really appreciate your feedback on. They'll pop up just as I'm talking or just after I introduce them. And please provide your responses, as they really help us determine how we can engage in a more structured manner with your good selves. If you do have any issues on today's session, please just put them into the question box and someone will pick them up and try and help you resolve that situation that you may be having. And also, I'll cover this again just to remind you all, but post-event, we will be running a short evaluation survey, as feedback is a gift. And we do take everything that you feedback to us on board to try and improve any future sessions that we do run. So first things first, let's get the ball rolling with our first polling question. Really appreciate your responses to this. It is a open comment box, and it's basically what we would like is your feedback on a very important thing, and it is important that you feel supported throughout all this. Is there anything else that you would have liked to have seen from us over the last couple of months, things like that? And also, if you would like to, anything you would like going forward as well. If you could complete that when the option comes up, that would be fantastic. So I'll give you a little minute just to start putting in the answers to that feedback, and I'm going to introduce my wonderful colleague Stella Humphreys to bring us on to our next part of this today's session.
Thank you, Andy. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. Some of you might have already seen a letter that from ourselves discussing moving to the Alpha Pension Scheme. These started to go out in December and will continue to go out in batches until the end of January. So please don't worry if you've not received one of these letters as yet. And just to let you know, we'll be holding another one of these sessions on the 23rd of February. So again, if there's any other questions, or you've got some colleagues that you think that might like to attend, all those details can be found on the website. So as Andy said, it's really important that you have all the necessary information to feel supported, which is why we've set up these live at lunch sessions. And I'm going to provide a bit of an overview of moving into Alpha, the value of Alpha, and we're then going to give you the opportunity to ask questions at the end. We appreciate that pensions can be very confusing, and we want to reassure you that we're going to guide you every step of the way through this process. So just setting the scene, moving to the Alpha Pension Scheme. So as you already probably already know, from the 1st of April 2022, you will automatically become a member of the Alpha Pension Scheme. From that date, the pension contributions you and your employer make each month will go into the Alpha Pension Scheme. The benefits that you've built up in your current pension scheme until the 31st of March 2022 are safe, and they'll make part of your retirement pension. The rest will be made up of the benefits that you will build up in the Alpha scheme. It's important to note that you don't need to take any action as now. So why is this happening? A bit of the background. So in 2015, the government introduced reforms to public service pensions, moving most members to a scheme called Alpha. Members like you who were closer to retirement were prevented from moving to Alpha, and you remained in your existing scheme, and we call these the legacy scheme. Subsequently, the Court of Appeal found the approach to be discriminatory, as people were being treated differently depending upon their age. The Court of Appeal introduced a solution known as the remedy to remove this age discrimination. And part of this, you'll see that civil service pensions members, including you, will move into Alpha from the 1st of April 2022. And again, another part of this were the legacy schemes, such as Classic Plus Premium and Nuvos, will close on the 31st of March 2022. So this will then place everyone on an equal footing, and therefore bringing the end to the discrimination. So for you to find out more, we've got a dedicated area on the Civil Service Pensions website for the 2015 remedy, with a lot of FAQs which can be seen in the members area. There's also a dedicated web page purely for yourselves on the move to Alpha, which provides more detailed information. And hopefully this link should appear in the chat in a moment. Also on this page, there is a short video which we've created specially for yourselves to help you understand the move to Alpha. Now, without further ado, I'll introduce the video which we're going to watch now. Thank you.
Welcome to the 2015 Remedy. This video is being created to keep you updated, informed and supported as you move to Alpha on the 1st of April 2022. For more information on the 2015 Remedy, a series of videos can be found on the 2015 Remedy section of the Civil Service Pension website. We can see on the timeline that the next milestone is on the 1st of April 2022. If you are a member who is currently still in Classic, Classic Plus, Premium or Nuvos, you will be moved to the Alpha scheme automatically on the 1st of April 2022. You do not need to do anything, and be reassured that any benefits that you have built up in your legacy schemes are safe. The Alpha scheme pays you a pension based on a proportion of your pensionable earnings. It is a valuable benefit and can deliver a higher benefit than final salary schemes. As well as providing you with a pension, the Alpha scheme also provides a number of benefits, such as the opportunity to exchange some of your pension for a tax-free lump sum, ill health benefits should you become too ill to work, a lump sum if you die in service, paid to whoever you have nominated, a pension for your spouse, civil partner or nominated partner in the event of death in service. Any dependent children can also receive a pension in the event of death in service. More information on the Alpha scheme can be found at www.civilservicepensionscheme.org.uk/members/alpha-scheme-guide. The 2015 Remedy Programme is there to make sure that you have the support, tools, information and guidance. We will guide you every step of the way through the process, making sure you know exactly what is happening. To keep up to date, the 2015 Remedy section on the Civil Service Pensions website is where you will find all the latest news, information and FAQs. www.civilservicepensionscheme.org.uk/members/2015-remedy-MacLeod.
thank you very much for introducing today's session, Stella, and I really hope you guys enjoyed and found the video informative. So what is next on our agenda is time for 2 more polling questions. The first one being is, how would you prefer to receive communications from us? Through physical format, i.e. letters, or secondly, via the digital route, like emails, through the website, or through videos? I'll just give it a second for that to pop up. Before I introduce the second polling question. And the second polling question is, what is your understanding level of the 2015 remedy? Is it 1, strong, 2, slight, or 3, non-existent? Give you one quick moment to answer that before we move on to our next phase of today's session, and it is a presentation all about Alpha, which is going to be delivered by Catherine Murray of MyCSP, the pension scheme administrator, who is a great trainer and also the training manager. So Catherine, over to your good self.
Thank you, Andy. Hi, everyone. Let me just get my presentation on the screen for you, and then we can begin. So you might recognize my voice if you've ever attended one of our pension power sessions or pre-retirement sessions, something like that. But you certainly should have seen me at Live at Lunch if you attended those sessions in September as well. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview, a little bit more detail on Alpha, which really expands on the video that you've just watched. So the things that we're going to look at, the benefits that you get when you're a member of the Alpha scheme. We're going to look at the contributions that both you and your employer pay towards Alpha. And we're going to look at how your pension accrues in the Alpha scheme. And we'll have a little look at how that compares to the other schemes. And then we'll look at your options at retirement as well from Alpha and how that might differ in from the other schemes. So as we've said, and you should all be aware of now, all members of the Civil Service Pension Scheme who continue in service from the 1st of April 2022 onwards will do so as members of Alpha. So any benefits that you have from Classic, Classic Plus, Premium and Nuvos will be closed in relation to your service after the 31st of March 2022. So everyone will accrue Alpha pension benefits from the 1st of April this year going forwards. What are the benefits of Alpha then? Alpha is an example of a defined benefit pension scheme. So all of our civil service pension schemes, with the exception of partnership, fall into the category of being a defined benefit pension scheme. So that's Classic, Classic Plus, Premium, Nuvos and Alpha are all defined benefit pension schemes. And that means that we use a formula with reference to your salary and your service to calculate the pension benefits you're expected to receive at retirement. So it's quite easy to predict what you're going to get in the future, because we have a formula that predicts what your pension is going to give you at retirement. So you've got no risk of investment or sort of poor interest rates or things like that. That's not going to impact your pension. So it's quite safe and quite secure when you're a member of a defined benefit pension scheme. There are 2 main types of defined benefit pension scheme: final salary schemes, which you will know if you're a member of Classic, Classic Plus or Premium. They're all final salary schemes. Alpha, just like Nuvos, is what we call a career average pension scheme. And that's where you accrue a proportion of your earnings each year as annual pension. So, for example, your first year of membership in Alpha will be from the 1st of April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023. And you'll accrue a proportion of your earnings in that year as annual pension that's going to be then paid to you each year from when you retire. The employer contributions in all of the civil service pension schemes other than partnership are the same, and it's a contribution from your employer of at least 26.6% of your pay. So really generous employer contributions in all of our schemes, which provide the majority of your pension benefits for you. Alpha, similar to all of the other schemes, provides death in service benefits, so a lump sum that's payable when a member dies in service, and also dependent pensions also payable. So for example, a pension to a spouse, partner or civil partner, and pensions payable to any dependent children that a member has as well. There's also provision for ill health retirement benefits. So should a member fall into ill health during their period of employment, there is the potential for an enhanced pension to be payable to them regardless of their age, subject to an assessment from the scheme's medical advisor. And in Alpha, the pension that you build up gives you a pension that's payable to you from a normal pension age, which is the same as your state pension age. So for Alpha, it's either 65 or the later of your state pension age is your normal pension age. And that's the earliest age that you can claim your pension without any reduction being applied to it. Now, that's important to say that that doesn't mean that you have to work until your state pension age before you claim your Alpha pension. You can claim your Alpha pension benefits early, anytime you like from the age of 55 onwards, but a reduction does apply to the benefits that you've built up to account for the fact that that pension will be paid to you for longer. In terms of your personal contribution towards Alpha, it is the same as all of the other pension schemes, and it depends on your rate of pensionable earnings. So you will pay somewhere between 4.6 and 8.05% of your pensionable earnings as your personal contribution towards Alpha. So come the 1st of April 2022, when you move across to Alpha, you'll be paying the same rate of contribution that you are now. You're not going to see any change there. You're going to be paying exactly the same as you do in all of the schemes. The rates that your employer pay, again, it's the same in all of the schemes, and it depends on your salary band. Your employer contributes somewhere between 26.6 and 30.3% of your pensionable earnings. So again, your employer pays a really large chunk of the contribution that meets the cost of providing your pension benefits. So civil service pension scheme benefits are a really good benefit to have. So what are the different components that make up your Alpha pension? First of all, we need to assess your pensionable earnings, and we do that over the course of our scheme year. So from the 1st of April to the following 31st of March. Your pensionable earnings will generally be your salary, but if you have any other elements of pay that are pensionable, then those would be included as well. So for example, any kind of pensionable allowance that you receive, whether that's on a continuing basis or something you just receive on an ad hoc basis. Sometimes some elements of overtime can be pensionable, but that does vary from employer to employer. So it is quite individual to people's circumstances. So all of those elements of pay will be captured. We'll work out what your pensionable earnings are over the course of the scheme year, 1st of April to the following 31st of March. And then each year you accrue 2.32% of that figure as annual pension. So 2.32% of your earnings is the annual pension that's going to then be paid to you each year in retirement. And in Alpha, every 1st of April, so that's the first day of our new scheme year, we apply an inflation adjustment to all of the pension benefits that you've built up in Alpha so far. So we make sure that the Alpha pension that you accrue is consistently revalued with inflation, so it doesn't lose its value over time. Here's an example of how the pension builds up in Alpha. So if we look at the first year, as I've just said, you're going to accrue 2.32% of your earnings in that year as annual pension. So we'll work out how much that value is. We carry it forward into year 2, and then straight away we apply our inflation adjustment. And then you'll go on to get 2.32% of your earnings in your second year as well. We'll then add those three values together, carry them forward into year 3, and it's the total amount that gets adjusted in line with inflation. So the inflation gets applied to all of the benefits you've built up so far, including last year's inflation adjustment. And that will just continue to stack up and grow as long as you remain an active member and contributing to the Alpha scheme. So let's have a look at an Alpha example with some numbers attached to it. So you've got a member who in their first year of Alpha, they have pensionable earnings of £30,000. 2.32% of 30,000 will give them £696 per year pension payable at their Alpha pension age of their state pension age. So we carry that £696 forward into year 2, and straight away we apply an inflation adjustment. The rates of inflation are variable and change every year, but we've used 3% in this example. So 3% of £696, add another £20.88 to this member's pension. In their second year, their salaries now increased to £32,000. So 2.32% of 32,000 adds another £742.40 to the member's pension. So after 2 years of member in Alpha, if we add those three figures together, so the £696 they accrued in year one, the £20.88 inflation, and the £742.40 they earned in year two, they'll have £1,459.28 per year pension payable at their Alpha pension age. So they've accrued quite a good amount of pension in just 2 years of being a member of Alpha. If we look at that over the long term, just to see what a long-term example would look like, we've simplified this calculation. So we've assumed someone's pensionable earnings are £30,000 and they will be so for the full 30 years that they're a member of Alpha. Certainly you would obviously hope someone's salary would increase over that time frame, but just to make the calculation nice and straightforward, we haven't applied any inflation adjustments as well, as we can't predict what they might be in the future. So we're just looking at a salary of £30,000, 2.32% of that is 696. If you multiply that accrued pension by 30 to assume they've accrued that for 30 years, after that length of time in Alpha, they'd have a pension at retirement of £20,880. So quite a lot of pension to accrue in just 30 years membership to the Alpha scheme. Alpha provides a pension for you in retirement. It doesn't come with an automatic lump sum, but if you want to, you can choose to turn some of your pension into a tax-free lump sum at retirement. And the formula that we use to work out the maximum lump sum that's available is if you take your annual Alpha pension, you multiply it by 30 and then divide it by 7. That will show you the maximum tax-free lump sum you're allowed to take in line with the current HMRC limit. So HMRC state that a member can take 25% of the total value of their pension pot as a tax-free lump sum at retirement, and that's how we work out that 25%. It's a lot easier if you want to though. Visit the Civil Service Pension Scheme website, and in the member calculator section, you will find a lump sum calculator. So if you don't want to do any maths, you can work it all out for yourself on that page of the website. Our pension exchange rate in Alpha is the same as the other schemes. It's 1 to 12, meaning for each £1 of pension you give up, you'll receive £12 of tax-free lump sum. So for example, if you give up £1,000 worth of annual pension, you get a £12,000 tax-free lump sum from your pension at retirement. And we'll quote you a maximum amount of lump sum available. You don't have to take the maximum. You might want to go for slightly less. You might have a fixed amount of lump sum in your mind in terms of what you'd like to take at retirement, and you do have the option to do that. So you don't have to take any lump sum if you don't want to. You don't have to take the maximum, but you do have the option to go somewhere in the middle if you would like. And the retirement modeler on the Civil Service Pension Scheme website will help you with these calculations as well. And again, that's in the member calculators page of the scheme website. So Alpha pension benefits are payable from state pension age. So whatever your personal state pension age is, that's the normal pension age for your Alpha pension benefits. But as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to work until your state pension age if you don't want to. You have the option to claim your Alpha pension benefits early, and that can be any time from the age of 55. But a reduction gets applied for each year early you decide to claim your pension if you do decide to retire before your normal pension age. And once your pension is in payment, you will continue to see an inflation adjustment applied every April to keep those pension benefits up in line with inflation. So now we're just going to look at a bit of an example of a comparison of the accrual rate in Alpha compared to some of the other schemes. I think there's a lot of people who maybe get a little bit confused when we're looking at a fraction, as we do with Classic and Premium, compared to the 2.32% percentage accrual rate that we have in Alpha. So in the Classic scheme, members accrue 1/80th of their pensionable earnings each year as pension benefits, so linked to their final salary. If we turn 1/80th into a percentage, it's 1.25%. So you can see that's less than the 2.32% that members get in Alpha. Premium turns 1/60th into 1.66%, and Nuvos is quite similar at 2.3% compared to 2.32 from Alpha. So you do get a much more pension per year in Alpha than you do in our final salary schemes. Obviously, the big difference is with Alpha, you have to wait until state pension age to claim that Alpha pension without any reduction being applied to it. So there are some comparisons, but obviously you've got that option to take those Alpha pension benefits early on a reduced basis. And if you do that and you opt to take your Alpha pension benefits closer to age 60, then you might well end up with a pension quite similar to what you would have got had you stayed in your previous final salary scheme. So Alpha gives you a lot more pension per year than the final salary schemes do, but obviously the trade-off is you have to wait longer to claim it. So it's all about working out what's going to be the different option for you in terms of how those things work out when you're looking at your choice for your benefits accrued between 2015 and 2022. But certainly I think a lot of people assume that Alpha gives you a lesser pension than the other schemes. And as you can see from those comparisons, it's just not the case. You do get a lot more pension per year in Alpha than you do in the other schemes. So comparing final salary and career average schemes as well. So again, Classic, Classic Plus and Premium are our final salary schemes. And in those schemes, all of the service that you've accrued throughout your membership of the Civil Service Pension Scheme is based on your final salary close to point of retirement. So the best 12 months in either your last 3 years if you're a member of Classic, or the last 13 years if you're in Premium or Classic Plus. For the career average schemes, the accrual is based on your actual pensionable earnings each year, and then we have that inflation adjustment applied every year. So final salary schemes work really well for people who kind of climb up the ranks throughout their career and increase their final salary. If your salary stayed the same throughout, then career average schemes can work just as well, if not better. You're having that inflation adjustment applied to your benefits every year. And just a little note to finish off for me on why the change is in place. So in 2010, the Lord Hutton report was published, which was a review of public sector pensions. And that was all about making public sector pensions more sustainable for the future. And he said it's possible to have good quality, sustainable, defined benefit pension schemes, which balance the legitimate concerns of taxpayers about the cost of pension commitments in the public sector, as well as ensuring decent levels of retirement income for those who have devoted their working lives to the service of the public. So the change to Alpha, it's not about giving us less pensions, it's all about making a fair and sustainable pension system for the future, to make sure that there's basically enough money there to make sure we can provide these solid, good level pensions for everyone without any risk to the taxpayer. So that's really what all of these changes and the introduction of Alpha have really been around. Okay, that's everything from me. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to pass back over to Andy.
Thank you very much for that, Catherine. I really appreciate it. I really hope everyone enjoyed that and found it informative and provide you with a greater understanding of Alpha and why the remedy has taken place. Just before we move on to the question and answer sessions, I can see loads of questions are being asked. I'll get my teeth in one day. Just go through the polling questions that were raised earlier and you kindly responded to. The first one being, how would you prefer to receive communications from us? We had 40% say you would prefer physical and 60% say digital, which is great. And the second question was, what is your understanding of the remedy? We had 16% say strong, 66% say slight, and 18% say non-existent. Hopefully after today's session, that non-existent will be 0 and you'll move up into the slight or even the strong. So let's have a look first at the most popular question, which is, I would like to pose to Ian first. It has been asked a few times. And it's a really popular question that has been upvoted 43 times, but I've seen it being asked a few times before as well. It is, I want to take either retirement or partial retirement this year, but I don't feel I have enough information to do that. What does it mean for me? So basically, if a member is looking to retire or partially retire now, how would their benefits be calculated? What would it be based on?
Thanks, Andy. So For people who are looking to retire before we start the remedy process, before we start the deferred choice underpin where we offer members a choice, things will continue as normal. So if you are looking to partially retire now and you're looking to partially retire from somewhere in PCSPS like Classic or Premium, you'll just get your options as normal. If you're looking to retire once you've moved into Alpha, what will happen is, if you're looking to partially retire, once you've moved into Alpha, you'll be given your option as normal, and you'll be given calculations to show the benefits you've built up in your previous scheme, whether that's Classic, Premium, Classic Plus, or whatever, Nuvos. And then you'll carry on building up your Alpha pension if you've partially retired, if you've carried on working. If you want to fully retire, again, you'll get your calculation for your previous final salary scheme, and there'll be an element of Alpha in there. So it will just work as normal. So in terms of, having enough information, you'll be getting the information that everyone gets to when they come up to retirement, and it will only be later when you get your remedy choice.
Thank you very much, Ian. Great answer. The second question that we're going to cover is very similar to that, and it's around, it's already been answered. The first part of it is basically what options will people be given. But Stella, could you answer on when those options would be available to everyone? Will it be straight away, as in from April 2022, or is it going to be some date in the future?
Hi, Andy. Yeah, sure. Thank you. So just to clarify, if you are retiring before the 1st of April 2022, your pension is going to be made up of the benefits in your legacy scheme. We're going to contact you around about October 2023 to offer you a choice then between your legacy scheme, which would be Classic Plus Nuvos, and those benefits in your Alpha scheme for the remedy period. If you retire between the 1st of April 2022 and the 1st of October 2023, your benefits will be made up of your legacy scheme and the Alpha scheme. And again, we will contact you around about October 2023. So hopefully that clarifies things. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much, Stella. Catherine, I'm going to come to you for the next one. And I'm going to concentrate on one particular area because I know it's been answered in parts from Stella and Ian just then. I will be moved into Alpha from Classic on the 1st of April 2022, but I am already 66. And I understand that there is a minimum membership period of 2 years. What will happen if I retire before April 2024? And it's namely around that 2-year period. Does a member have to stay in for another 2 years to actually qualify for the Alpha pension?
Thanks, Andy. So the good news with this question is the 2-year qualifying period isn't scheme specific. So it starts from the very day that you join the scheme in the first place. So you could actually just have a month or two in Alpha and you would still accrue Alpha pension benefits for that period. So you don't have to accrue another 2 years from the 1st of April 2022, regardless of when you leave. Whether you decide to just work for another couple of months in Alpha, then that's fine. You'll still accrue Alpha pension benefits for that period. So you don't have to have 2 years of qualifying service just in Alpha. It applies across all of the schemes. Okay, thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much for that, Catherine. Ian, I'm going to come to you on the next question. And it's namely around, again, it's very similar to what questions have been asked before, but it's one particular area which I think is a big misconception or a big misunderstanding from a lot of members. And it's around those of us who had a final salary element, and it's around if an individual loses that. So the question is I am due to retire on the 1st of June. Is it better or possible to opt out of Alpha for the 2 months, or can or will it be paid as a lump sum? Also, the March salary, is everything up to March protected before we go into Alpha?
Thanks, Andy. I came off mute a bit too early there. Yeah, so thanks for the question. I'll talk a bit more widely about it as well. So For just to reassure everyone, so if everyone on this call who is presumably in some bit of PCSPS like Classic is therefore a final salary member. So what happens is that final salary link remains once you've moved into Alpha, and your benefits under PCSPS are calculated based on the salary when you retire, not when you're moved to Alpha. So it's not on 1st of April 2022, it's on, say if you retire in 2 years after that, it's based on your salary then. So in terms of that, that is protected, and all the pension you built up to date is safe. What may change that is when you come to make your choice. So if you're going to retire in 2 months, we won't have the remedy operational for you. So at a later date, you'll get to make a choice of whether you would prefer to keep the benefits you built up from 2015 to 2022 in PCSPS, or whether you would prefer Alpha benefits. So in that sense, you know, you may look at it and think, oh, the Alpha benefits are actually better for this period, so I want those. But if you want to keep the benefits you've already built up, that's fine. They are protected. So there's no, I mean, we can't stop people opting out of Alpha, but there's no need to. It doesn't impact your benefits you've built up already. You know, it will just be a small amount given you'll have only been in for several months, but you don't, I would say you really don't have to do anything. You can just wait and get your options when it comes to it. So there's nothing to do really.
Thank you very much, Ian. I hope that helps the individual and who asked that and those who upvoted. Stella, are you okay for the next one? And it's around basically who is going to be captured by the 2015 remedy. The question is, I was automatically moved from Classic into Alpha in 2015. Is the remedy for me to have those payment years, etc., be put back into Classic until 2022? So can you explain what categories of people would fall into this 2015 remedy program?
Yeah, sure, Andy. As mentioned, kind of previously, in my introduction, that the people that will fall into to the remedy would have been in the civil service pension scheme in 2015. I wondered if Ian or Catherine could just help me with this one, just to explain a little bit further.
I'm happy to come in, Stella.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, so this is, so there's a few caveats here, but at a sort of simple high level, if you were a civil servant or working for a contracted body, say a private sector employer but still in the civil service pension scheme on 31st of March 2012, and you remained in service on 31st of March 2015, it's very likely you are eligible for the remedy. So what will happen is at some point in the future, we're trying from October 23 to have everything operational, you will get a choice and it will say, okay, you built up your Alpha pension from 2015 onwards. Now, because our remedy period is 2015 to 2022, what the options will show you is that you can carry on and keep your Alpha from 2015 to 2022, or for that period of time, you can have a Classic pension. Now, it will be very individual basis, so there isn't a way for us to say, oh, the Alpha will be better or the Classic will be better. It'll be very dependent on things like salary increases, length of service, a number of factors. But what the options will show you in black and white is this is what you'll get under Classic and this is what you'll get under Alpha. So you will have that choice. We're not able to do it yet because there's lots of legislation still to do and lots of policy still to be worked through, but that is the plan.
Thanks very much, Ian. Thanks very much, Stella. Ian, I'm going to stick with you. A very good question has been arose around the tax situation with this, namely around a thing called the annual allowance. And the question is, for us being moved back into the legacy scheme for the 7-year remedy period, are historic tax liabilities being recalculated for annual allowance purposes? If we made private pension contributions in good faith based on ABS PSS figures, could we get a tax bill or have to work it out for ourselves?
Thank you, Andy. So the tax side of the remedy work is some of the most complicated bits we have to do. So I'll talk more generally about it to set the scene and make sure people understand it. So you've got various, on top of things like income tax and national insurance, things we all recognise, you've got various specific pension taxes, principally annual allowance. So this is a tax that you get hit by if you build up a certain amount of pension over the year. So it's often if you've had a big increase in promotion and the final salary interaction with that, or for example, you're a very high earner and that's taken you over this annual allowance, literally in most cases, a £40,000 allowance. So what we'll have with the remedy is some people will maybe have paid, with this example question, somebody has said, oh, I built up a certain amount of pension in the year, that left me some annual allowance free, so I can pay in pension contributions somewhere else without getting hit by an annual allowance tax charge. Because what we're doing is moving everybody back into PCSPS for the 2015 to 2022 period, that will require annual allowance recalculations for that period. What will then happen is members will get the choice we've been talking about. So there may be occasions where if a member chooses an option that would have increased their annual allowance, they would get hit by a tax bill because they are saying, oh, I've now built up more pension, but only if they made that choice. There will be a number of occasions, such as this example, where a member has done something as a result, and that's now changed. So there will be a separate contingent decisions process for members to be able to apply and say, okay, I wouldn't have made these pension contributions if I'd have been in another scheme. So what are you going to do about it? So that's something we still have to work through. There will be some tax bills coming through, but it will be very much a thing of a lot of sort of clear information, and it won't be a case of, oh, we're suddenly, HMRC are suddenly sending you a tax bill out of the blue. So it will only be where a member needs to pay more tax as a result of something. So that is something we will be focusing on heavily in future sessions once we've got a bit more of the work done. But we are doing a lot of work with HMRC at the moment to make sure that members aren't disproportionately impacted by all the tax work with remedy. So I'm sorry that's not a complete answer to your question, but we are still working through some of the kinks.
Oh, thank you very much, Ian. Annual allowance and the tax situation, as you say, is one of the more complicated areas of the 2015 remedy. So there is a lot of thought and consideration being taken into account with this. Stella, I'm going to come to you with the next question, and it's around the tools that will be available for members. We have a great tool currently called the Retirement Modeler, which is available on the portal. If you're not registered for the portal, please do. A little bit of a call out there to the portal. And one of the questions is, when will the Retirement Modeler reflect the changes? So rate changes to the 2015 remedy.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, we're currently, the remedy programme are currently working quite hard behind the scenes on how to support you, whether that be through communications on the website, videos, but also the tools that will help you to be able to do this. So at the moment, we're working on a simple illustrator which will enable you to see about a little bit more about what the choice will mean for you. Work is continuing on the modeler, again, due to policy, legislation and processes to be defined. We're looking for the modeler to be in use 2023-2024. And this modeler will then provide you on an insight on what this will mean for you. So all I can say is, yes, this is currently an important tool, and we realise this is paramount for you to help you make that choice. So again, if I can signpost you to the website to keep up to date with developments. So the modeler should be available 2023-2024. Thanks, Andy.
No, thank you. You're the one providing the answers, not me. I'm just reading what's on the screen. Catherine, over to you, good self. And it's slightly linked to the response that Stella's just kindly provided. And it's an individual whose alpha maturity date mirrors the state pension age. Yep, correct. Well done. I'll be 63 by the 4th of April 2022, but hadn't planned on staying to age 66. If I do go before 66, the suggestion is that this would be seen as early retirement, resulting in reduced returns. Is there any way to calculate what this might mean in reality?
Thanks, Andy. Yep. So just to reiterate, whilst the normal pension age in Alpha is the same as your state pension age, you're certainly under no obligation to work until that point, and it's up to each individual to decide when they'd like to retire and claim their own pension benefits. Whilst there's not necessarily a modeler for everyone in place just yet, as a result of looking at the remedy, as a rough guide to work out what the reduction might look like for Alpha, it's an approximate 4% reduction to your annual pension for each year early that you decide to take it. So you can certainly get yourself a sort of rough calculation of what it looks like. So around a 4% reduction for each year early you decide to claim your pension benefits. So in your case, if your state pension age is 66 and you did decide to retire early at 64, then you'd be looking at around an 8% reduction to that annual pension. And that should give you a good idea of what those pension benefits might look like if you decide to take them a little bit earlier before your state pension age. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you, Catherine. Ian, I'm going to come back to you for the next one. And it's around added pension and how members who currently have an added pension contract are impacted. So the question is, my additional added voluntary contributions had to be moved, have been into, sorry, I'll put my teeth in again. My added voluntary contributions have been into the Alpha scheme as I was moved across a couple of years ago. Will these now be shifted to my previous pension up until the 1st of April 2022?
Thanks, Andy. So we will be doing an exercise on this next year. So what will happen is that, yes, if you purchased added pension in Alpha, though that will be converted into your relevant PTSPS scheme, so your relevant legacy scheme such as Classic or whatever, and you will also get the option of a refund of those if you do not want them to be converted, because some people may just say, well, I only bought them because I'm an Alpha, I don't want them linked to anything else, I want a refund. So when that happens, and that will happen ahead of the actual choice you're given, you'll be contacted with those two offers, but the default will be that the added pension is changed back into added pension for your legacy scheme.
Thank you very much, Ian. I'm going to come back to you on this next question, Catherine, and it's around a particular benefit that is applicable to members in the Classic and some members of Classic Plus. Where the question is, do you get a refund of widows or widowers benefits in Alpha if you do not have a partner or spouse as you do in Classic?
Thanks, Andy. So just to give a little bit of background on this, so the Classic scheme, when it was first introduced all the way back in 1972, was a non-contributory pension scheme, and no one initially made any contributions towards Classic. Men started making contributions in 1973 at 1.5%, and that was just to provide pension benefits in the event of their death to any dependents. And then women started making those contributions in 1987. All of the other schemes, when they've been introduced, so going back to 2002 when premium was introduced, those were all contributory pension schemes. And then Nuvos and Alpha that have been introduced post those are also contributory pension schemes. So Classic is the only scheme that has that refund provision within it, where if a Classic member retires and they're not married or in a civil partnership, then for Classic members, some of their contributions can be refunded. That doesn't apply in Alpha, same as it doesn't apply in any of the other pension schemes either. So no, that refund provision isn't there for your Alpha membership, just for Classic. Back to you, Andy.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Great response. I think we have time for one last question, and I'm going to come back to Ian on this one. And the question is, are you limited to 45 years of contributions in Alpha?
Thanks, Andy. No, you're not. I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or not, but you're not. So you can carry on working for 60 years and paying contributions every year.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Fingers crossed you don't have to, well, I hope everyone doesn't want to work another 45 years after moving into Alpha. No, thank you very much for your responses today, Stella, Ian and Catherine. Thank you to you guys who have been raising the questions. I really hope you found them informative. As mentioned at the beginning of the call, we will be sending out an evaluation immediately after today's event. Please take the time to complete it and answer all the questions that have been raised to you. Like I say, we do treat feedback extremely importantly, and we try to improve all of the sessions that we do run on all the subjects, not just on the 2015 remedy. That all that calls for me to do is say thank you. I hope you have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. And thank you very much for your time. And I hope everyone stays safe. Take care.